Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another video. So we've got Crystal with us today and we are going to be going over our top 5 vegan myths that need to die. So I was watching one of my favorite mountain biking channels the other day and they did this video about mountain biking. It's mountain biking myths that need to die. And I thought, what a cool idea to apply it to veganism and this channel, because I ended up learning a lot in the video. There was definitely like some laughs and yeah, it was a really fun idea. So I thought, let's do it here.
There are a lot of vegan myths out there. So if you have any that we don't cover in this video, let us know in the comments below. Maybe we'll make a part 2. But here are our top 5 vegan myths that need to die.
So myth number 1, eating a vegan diet is expensive.
I mean, it can be depending on what you buy.
Yeah, as it could any diet,
but
really.
It doesn't have to be.
No, it definitely doesn't have to be. And most of the foods that you should be basing your diet around, most of the staples, are some of the cheapest foods that are out there. Think about beans, lentils, rice, quinoa,
potatoes, especially when you compare these staple foods to the price of meat. Like, have you guys seen the price of meat lately?
Yeah, I checked it out the other day in the store and it was unbelievably expensive. I could not believe it. And that it is definitely way more costly to eat that way than it is to eat a vegan diet.
But if you buy green juices and all the processed like meat alternatives and all like the fun vegan junk food out there, it's gonna be costly, and we've definitely noticed this in our grocery bills. Like, our grocery bills will be a lot higher if we're buying some of those foods to try or just like have on hand, right?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And depending on where you live, I know it can be more pricey. You know, there's certain times of the year where fresh food and vegetables and stuff like that are more expensive. But stuff that we found to help is, trying to find deals. Like, we go to multiple different stores to get the cheapest different items, and we know exactly where to go to get those. You guys could check out like ethnic stores, like different Indian stores or Persian stores, stuff like that, often have things like lentils and chickpeas for way cheaper than your average grocery store. And you can also ask like the produce manager if there's like seconds or like baking bananas or stuff like that they might be thrown away that they'll give to you at a discounted price. We used to buy those cases of baking bananas for like, it was like 25 or like 30 bucks sometimes for like a 50-pound case of banana.
Everyone always said at the checkout, oh, you have monkeys to feed?
Or do you have a banana bread company?
Yeah. But it's really important to think of these foods, especially like fresh whole foods, as an investment towards your health. So Derek and I have made videos in the past on like, why we choose to buy mostly organic and stuff like that. And we really see it as an investment. But in the end, it can benefit you it's more than not, right?
It's definitely a lot cheaper to invest in your health now than to get sick later and have to pay then.
So, do you think this myth is busted?
Yeah, definitely myth busted.
So myth number 2, you have to take a bunch of supplements because vegan diets are nutrient deficient.
So we hear this one a lot, and of course, as soon as I mention that I take B12 or something like that, in the comments of the video, I was like, oh yeah, you guys gotta take all these supplements to stay alive. Well, let me tell you, do you guys think that the whole supplement industry is in existence because of vegans? Like, I used to work in a supplement store and it was full top to bottom with supplements, and I would speak with every person that I could that went in there, try and find them the best sort of thing to help them out, and of course I talked to them about their diet, and most of those people were not vegan that were seeking out supplements. So it's definitely not something that's exclusive to vegans taking supplements.
Yeah, vegans use like so many supplements, it just seems like so unnatural, man.
But, if you have to, or if you want to fill a gap in the diet, I think that's okay. But it's definitely not necessary to take a ton in order to survive on a vegan diet.
No, of course you want to make sure that your B12 levels are covered, and then depending on where you live, vitamin D3 would probably be pretty important.
Yep.
Those are 2 that we supplement. But other than that, supplements are really supposed to just help individual needs.
Yes, exactly. That's a good point. So there are going to be people that maybe have, certain digestive concerns, low stomach acid, stuff like that might have to supplement iron, something like that. There are also people with maybe thyroid problems that are going to have to supplement iodine or, something else that will help. So there's definitely going to be situations where you do have to supplement, but that's not exclusive to vegans. That is just anybody. And we know, as you mentioned, B12 and D3 are important, but they're not just important for vegans. D3 deficiency, B12 deficiency are not exclusive to people eating a vegan diet. We know that that's a problem, across the board. So do you have to live off of supplements, take a ton in order to survive or thrive as a vegan?
I don't think so I think this myth is
busted. All right, so myth number 3, and I've heard this one enough, it has gotta be true. Vegans don't get enough protein, so it's harder to build muscle.
So this one's actually true. Just kidding. No, but we hear this one so often. I think that's probably the #1 question you get.
First question, always. Wait, hold on. Where do you get your protein, though? So, you eat fish or you whatever. Like, people just don't realize that you can get enough protein just eating plants. I always always think that myth's busted, you know? There's a lot of us doing a lot of hard work online here to show that you can build muscle on a vegan diet, but people, I guess, aren't seeing it. So we gotta keep trying harder.
Yeah, and if you look at a lot of our friends, like we've made vlogs with, you know, Nimai and Brian Turner.
Yeah, exactly.
You'll notice that, like, these are dudes that have built, like, really great physiques, and it's not only them. There's so many people. I mean, look at Derek.
Look at you, though. You've been the one to make tons of gains in the gym. Both of us, we definitely get enough protein without trying too hard. And the thing is, we're not obsessing about protein all day with what we eat.
No.
We just make sure that we get a good protein source in each of our meals. You know, maybe a couple, but we'll make sure that, you know, if we're eating a salad, we eat some beans with it. If we're having, you know, a big bowl or something for dinner, there's some tofu or some edamame or something in there. But we're not just, like, constantly striving to get as much protein as we can. And on top of all that, and I've said it before on this channel, you know what I'm going to say, and I'll say it again, I don't think that protein intake is the limiting factor for most people who aren't reaching their health goals. It's something else. There's enough protein to get on a vegan diet, but you do have to make sure that you're getting enough calories. One problem that people have when they switch to a plant-based diet is they don't realize that the calories aren't as dense as when you're eating, you know, stuff like meat and dairy and those other types of foods. So you do have to eat more volume, and you also want to make sure that you're not restricting, you know, certain higher protein foods from your diet. You want to be eating the beans, you want to be eating lentils and all those higher protein foods.
So what's the optimal, like, intake of protein for muscle building? Just
Right.
so people know out there,
yeah.
so they can, like, calculate it and make sure they are getting enough if they're worried.
Right. So studies have actually shown that up to about 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of lean body weight is pretty much like at the upper end of what we can use for, you know, muscle growth, for protein synthesis. And the reason why I say lean body weight is because if you think about, let's just take a 300-pound person, if it's a 300-pound bodybuilder that's like solid muscle, they're going to have much higher requirements than somebody who, let's say, is, you know, 300 pounds but 150 pounds overweight or whatever. 150 pounds of that is just like fat. Doesn't have the same metabolic requirements as, you know, muscle and other tissue does.
So they're not going to have to be eating as much as that 300-pound bodybuilder.
Exactly.
Because they're the same weight.
Yeah, and that's why I say lean body weight. So for me, for instance, I'm about 70 kilograms. So if you go 70 kilograms, and I am at my ideal or lean body weight, times it by 1.6 grams of protein, then you get about 112 grams of protein per day, which is totally attainable if I'm eating, you know, my 2,400 calories or so that I probably should be eating for maintenance. And whenever I check, I'm often around that mark. It's really not hard to get that much. And I think a lot of people try and get much higher than that, and then they focus on eating a certain, you know, just high protein foods, maybe a lot of mock meats and stuff like that, and not actually like the quality of foods. And then they start feeling not as good when you might not even have to be eating that crap, and you could just be eating better stuff and feeling better and getting better results anyways. And you don't have to get to that 1.6 if you want to build muscle. It doesn't mean if you eat, you know, 1.4 or 1.3 grams per kilogram lean body weight, you're not going to build any muscle. Of course you are. So anyways, myth.
Busted! It needs to die. This myth needs to die. Myth number 4. Eating vegan is boring.
So I guess you're not subscribed to my channel then, if you think this, because I make some of the best food that I've ever had. And I'm not bragging. It took me a long time to become, you know, the chef that I am. A lot of trial and error, a lot of practice. Time and time again, when we even go out for food, we say, I could have made this better at home and for cheaper and healthier, right? I love the food I make so much. And I always think of that. I'm like, man, you know, whatever I'm eating, I'm like, this is like 10 out of 10. Like, it couldn't be better. And trust me, people are like, oh yeah, but you probably miss bacon and steak. It's like, trust me, I ate all that stuff for like, you know, the first 23 years of my life or whatever. I remember it and I don't miss it because I love this food so much. It tastes so good. It makes me feel so good that, yeah, it definitely is not boring.
But it can be boring if you don't know how to cook.
True.
Before I met Derek, I didn't know that like tofu had to be cooked and seasoned. So you can imagine the first time I tried tofu, I was like, this is disgusting. Who would eat this?
Yeah.
I met Derek and Derek was like, have you ever tried to like cook it or season it or do anything with it? And I was like, no. And I can tell you the first time I tried actually properly prepared tofu, it was so delicious and it's one of my favorite foods. So it just goes to show like knowing how to cook things, season things properly is so important. If you are finding that you're having trouble in the kitchen, there's so many videos on YouTube that like teach you how to cook and like kind of like how to season things.
Yeah, and look into different cuisines. Like if you're, you know, if you want to start using some more spices, look into like, you know, Indian cooking, Ethiopian cooking, like, you know, Italian, like start branching out. And also there's pretty much all of your favorite traditional foods that you would eat that had meat and dairy and stuff in it, there's veganized versions of that online, which are really easy to find. Just go into Google or whatever search engine, type in lasagna made vegan, or like, you know, vegan lasagna, or vegan burgers, like whatever it is. you'll find it.
Another thing that can really help is learning how to make some staple dishes. So dishes that you make, every week for you or your family. Maybe they're meals that you can like prep in advance, but learn how to do that, and then you always have those in rotation. Can make a world of difference. And then also like trying new things. It's one of our favorite things to do is like trying a new fruit we might see in the store, or a new vegetable, or trying something different. Like recently, I think we tried kohlrabi.
Yep, kohlrabi.
And it was like delicious. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And we were like, why haven't we tried this before?
Of course, you don't have to be vegan to try these new foods. Of course. But as soon as I did, go vegan, all of a sudden this whole world of different foods opened up to me. I was trying buckwheat, I was eating millet, I was like making barley soups and like things that I would never have tried before. And they're delicious foods. And we know it's great to have a huge variety in our diet because it's good for the microbiome.
Do you think this myth is busted?
Definitely busted. Vegan food is not boring. I absolutely love it. I look forward to each meal every day. And yeah, it is not boring. Myth busted, needs to die. So myth number 5. There's always going to be animal deaths in food production. People are always going to be eating animals. So why even bother? Why try?
Well, don't do nothing because you can't do everything.
Exactly. So what this is referring to, and a lot of people want to bring up animals that die in the harvesting of crops, because this does happen, and we're not totally naive to it. We know that there's certain animals that are killed in crop production. Mice or whatever else, local sort of thing, groundhogs in the ground and stuff, it's going to be killed during food production. But I think what people forget is that animals are fed many of the crops that we could just be eating. So it's quite inefficient because you have to then feed the animal these crops for many months in order for it to, grow big enough that we can eat it. And then we go and kill that animal to eat it. So all the crop deaths are happening in harvest, and then we're going and killing that animal as well. It's terribly inefficient when we could just be eating that food, eating the grain, eating the legumes and the pulses and that sort of stuff.
Like Derek always says, intentionally killing an animal for the purpose of eating, especially when we know we don't need to be. I mean, we haven't eaten meat for over a decade.
10 more, 12 years,
and most of us don't need to. It's much different than like the accidental deaths of mice and insects and stuff that you just can't help. I mean, no one can be 100% perfect.
No.
You can't strive for that, but it's all about kind of like reducing.
That's what it's all about with veganism. Yeah, reducing harm as much as practically possible. All right, thanks for watching. Those are 5 vegan myths that we think need to die. So you guys will have to let us know in the comments down below. Do you agree with our list? Do you have any to add to it? Let us know what you think.
And please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. We really, really appreciate it, and we will see you in the next video.
Bye-bye.
Bye.